Jonesboro, this is meteorologist Tim Root with your KLEK 102.5 FM weather. Dry weather, sunny weather, and warm weather today. No storms expected. The high about 80 to 85. Northwest wind at 10. Mostly clear. Cooler tonight, about 60 to 65. Light winds in the forecast. Mostly sunny this weekend, a nice weekend. It'll be warm. It is spring, late spring, and the temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Partly to mostly sunny this weekend. Jonesboro's community radio station, we're KLEK 102.5 FM.
From Feature Story News, I'm Natalie Powell with your latest world news. U.S. President Donald Trump is threatening a series of escalating tariffs on all Mexican goods unless the flow of migrants is stopped. A lawyer for Shamima Begum, the teenager who fled Britain to join the so-called Islamic State, says she was groomed. And scientists have developed a fungus that kills malaria-spreading mosquitoes.
It's 9:01.
Community Conversations is brought to you by Arkansas Early Learning, offering no-cost childcare in Jonesboro and Northeast Arkansas. Applications at arearlylearning.org.
Arkansas Early Learning is a nonprofit organization.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for Community Conversations, a program focusing on the people working to make the Jonesboro community a better place, while offering viewpoints from all sides of the issues. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters or sponsors.
Turn up two. Can you hear me? Okay, I just can't hear myself good. KLK 102.5 FM. Good morning to you on your Friday. It's May 31st, 2019. This is Community Conversations. Cato Wonder is in the studio with you. I am also joined by Quabila Jones, host of Community Conversations. And joining us on the phone is U.S. Senator John Boozman of the great state of Arkansas. And Senator Boozman has requested to just talk to the listeners and viewers about some of the things that are going on, not just in Arkansas, but in the country as well. So, Senator, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I wish I was there in person. We planned on being there, actually sitting down and visiting eyeball to eyeball, but as you know, we're working hard on the flooding throughout the state.
And absolutely. And talk a little bit about how that's going. I believe that you've been traveling the state with the governor and other people to survey the damage, and President Trump recently declared parts of the state of Arkansas a disaster area as well, correct?
Yeah, this is unprecedented. This flood is like no other flood before on the Arkansas River, setting all of the records. I was with the governor, as you mentioned, yesterday, flying over, and you look down and you see the locks, the dams underwater. So it is really very, very difficult. So been traveling up and down the river and trying to make sure that all of the components, governor's doing a great job providing leadership. We want to make sure that the federal component of that, working with the state, is in place. The president declared it an emergency last night here. So that gives us some flexibility and releases monies that can be spent for public safety things. So everything right now is moving in the right direction. As you know, the strength of Arkansas is its people. And so right now everybody's working together to get us through this really tragedy.
Absolutely. And one of the things that is also being affected because of the flooding is agriculture. A lot of farmers are definitely concerned about all of the flooding and how it's affecting their crops. They're facing challenges because of wet fields, and some of them are even worried about if they'll even be able to plant at all. So, Senator, what are you, as well as Congress, doing to help those farmers that are affected, as well as homeowners as well?
No, you're exactly right. And besides the flooding on the Arkansas River, certainly that's affecting farmland. But as you mentioned, it's been so wet, farmers haven't been able to get into their fields. And so as a result, not being able to plant, And if you remember back, not only is it now, but during harvest time at the end of last year, it was so wet, many of them couldn't get in to even harvest, or they tore their fields up doing that. So it's really the perfect storm. So in Congress, I'm number 2 on the Agriculture Committee in the Senate. We're working very, very hard to figure out how we can provide some relief. We've got this package together that Secretary Perdue, the Secretary of Agriculture, is going to push out. That's going to be helpful, but the commodity price is so low, flooding, all of these things, it really is making it very, very hard for our farmers. And as you know, it's 25% of the Arkansas economy, but in areas where your listeners are at, rural America, rural Arkansas, it's probably 85 or 90%. So it is very, very important, to try and do the best we can to provide the resources to get our farmers through this very tough time.
Absolutely. We are speaking with U.S. Senator John Boozman of Arkansas. If you have a question for the senator, he's on the phone, so we're not able to take phone calls, but you can leave a question or a comment on our Facebook Live feed. Senator, since we are on the subject of farmers, another thing that is affecting farmers are tariffs. As you know, the United States and China are kind of engaged in a bit of a trade war. There's been some tariffs being passed back and forth, and there's also some anxiety on that end as far as how it can affect prices and markets and everything else. So what are you and Congress doing to alleviate the concerns of farmers and consumers as it comes to the tariffs?
Well, the Secretary of Agriculture, the President's directed him to put together a package, which he has, that'll be of help. But we worked so hard to develop these markets. It's really important. In fact, 40% of the crops that are produced in Arkansas are exported. So we need to constantly be looking for new markets. And, my message to the President, the Chinese lie, they cheat, they steal our intellectual property and all of those things. So they have to be dealt with. The President's got their attention, but it is time to wrap it up. And I think he's working hard to do that. The other trade issues that we have are with Mexico and Canada. They've worked hard to rewrite the trade program there to make it more fair to the United States. That's a good thing. That's all wrapped up. It's going to come to Congress, so hopefully we can get that voted in the near future. The thing that is a problem is uncertain, and so we need to get these things settled, and that I think will give a big boost not only to our farm economy but also just to the economy in general.
Absolutely, and I know that it's particularly important to Jonesboro with all of the rice production that we have here.
Yes, very much so.
All right, we are once again speaking with U.S. Senator John Boozman. Another issue that is coming up that you want to talk about is broadband. You are a founder and co-chair of the Senate Broadband Caucus, and earlier this month, the caucus hosted an event about broadband mapping, which will better help to allocate resources to areas that need it. And I know that's important because here at the studio, we use a lot of technology, and pretty much in today's world, you pretty much need the internet. It's kind of like electricity and water and gas. It's kind of almost like a utility in itself. So let's talk a little bit about what you're doing in regards to broadband.
Well, it's so important, and there at the station, you can imagine if you didn't have the ability to get on the internet and do all that we can do now as a result of that. So it's just your business. Almost every business now is so very dependent. We used to think in terms of if you wanted to develop an area, you put in road, put in railroad, put in runways, PRs. Now we're in a situation where we have to, just right up there at the top along with that is broadband. And so we're working really very, very hard to make it such that there's resources going into states like Arkansas to help with that. We want to make sure that the mapping is accurate as to where it's at with good data, because we don't want duplication. There's a limited amount of money. We want to make sure that we really are pushing the dollars out to the places that need it. And so the mapping has not been good so far. So it's just a matter of really staying after the commission that has jurisdiction, the Federal Communications Commission, making sure, and they agree that the mapping's not good. So this is one of those things, everybody working together. It's not uncommon at all to be in rural Arkansas and see young people sitting in the back of a pickup doing their homework outside the schoolhouse because they can, use the broadband that emanates from that building. So big job, but lots of people working on it. I think we are making some headway. But the governor also is working on that. So it's just everybody working together.
And I know one of the things that is very important is basically providing coverage to these areas. Like in a lot of areas, the only internet is available is like satellite internet, and that can be, choppy at best, and it can also be expensive as compared to where in the city you may have other options as well. So will there be measures taken to ensure that this broadband service is affordable for these people who live in rural areas?
Yeah, it needs to be affordable, and then also the FCC's minimum standard is very, very low. It needs to be such that it is affordable, but also has enough quickness to it about it, so that it's actually usable. And again, those are the two things that we're working very hard to get done. But you're exactly right. This is it's like low cost energy. One of the benefits that we've had in Arkansas is having relatively cheap energy prices, electricity, natural gas, things like that. Broadband is right in that group. We've got to have reasonably priced, and then again, high speed enough that we can do the functions that we need to do.
Absolutely. Once again, we are speaking with United States Senator John Boozman. If you have a comment or a question for Senator Boozman, you can leave on our Facebook live feed, which we are streaming live on the KLAK 102.5 FM Facebook. Senator, you are very passionate about veterans and taking care of veterans, and got a couple things here that you're involved with. You're involved with a new program that's going to start on June 6th, which is related to the VA Mission Act, and it allows veterans access to medical care from non-VA doctors. And also, it says the Senate VA Committee discussed pending legislation that will include the Deborah Sampson Act that you co-authored, which will seek to improve the benefits and services our nation provides to our women veterans. And speaking of women veterans, shout out to our very own Dr. Sharice Jones Branch, who served, I believe she served in Desert Shield or Desert Storm. Don't quote me on that. But Senator, let's talk about those topics.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's so very, very important. We have veterans, people that have served the country, and you always have to remember, we're not talking about, these aren't give-me's, these are earned benefits. And so we have two good VA hospitals in Arkansas that we can be very proud of, and yet we only have two. And so because of that, people have to travel. And you get in a situation, maybe you're elderly, depending on friends or family to bring you in. It's very difficult. And so what we're saying is that if you live over a certain period of time, 30 minutes, in some cases an hour, and in other cases, that you'll have the ability, working with the VA, to actually seek care in your local community, and then the VA will pay for it. So that's a good thing. It's a great program. It's something that's really going to make a difference in regard to VA care. The rollout is scheduled to begin in the next few days. Probably going to be a little bit rocky at first, but at the end of the day, once we get it all situated, this is something that's going to make a tremendous difference for veterans and just make their life easier in regard to getting care on a timely basis without large travel times.
Absolutely. And Senator, by the way, we got a couple Facebook shout out to Josh Troy. Appreciate you for checking in on our Facebook live feed. Senator, something else that you have been involved with in more recent memory that I want to touch on is you pushed for US 67 to be designated I-57. So let's kind of talk about how that's progressing.
Yes, the lifeblood of communities is being able to get to the community. And interstate designation, that's one of the first things that businesses look at when they're trying to decide whether or not they're going to settle, in the community, do business in the community, set up shop. And so the designation is important. Now we've got to get the resources to actually bring that to fruition. And so we're working very hard on that as a delegation, but also we're working with the Department of Transportation. So both the federal and the state level coming together, and then with the adjoining states. So this is something that, moving forward, economic development. I go around the states and visit, and I'm out and about as much as anybody. It's always jobs, jobs, jobs. It's the economy. If you can't make a living wage, can't take care of your family, all these other things are pretty unimportant. And the way that one of the major things of that is certainly having good quality roads, the ability to get to places. So that's why I-57 is so important.
Is there a time frame for when the project could be completed? I know you mentioned that funds are trying to be appropriated, but is there like a projected year that this project could be completed?
No, there's not. That's something that we're working on now. And again, it's not just the delegation. It's all of the communities, the counties that are affected are coming together and coming up with a plan. We will be in the next year or so trying to get the reauthorization of the Highway Trust Fund. That's the monies that are pushed out to the state. And so we're going to try and as many resources as we can to Arkansas so that we can go forward with this plan.
Absolutely. And once again, we are speaking with U.S. Senator John Boozman, Arkansas. Bill, did you have a question for Senator Boozman? I didn't want to just take up the whole interview.
Well, I had a question, but it was relating to a article that was released some time ago, and it was concerning how cabinet members are selected in the time process and how things have been held up, just because how the news portrays the two different departments, the Senate and the House of Representatives,
House and the Senate,
not actually, I don't want to say they're not getting along, they just have some differences of opinions. And my basic question is, why is the process so rushed, and could there be some changes into how the process goes, and really doing some deeper vetting into the candidates for those various cabinet positions? Not to get into names and all the politics of it, but there have been some people in the past that have had a lot of controversy surrounding their name, and
some even had to withdraw their consideration because of that.
So has there been talk, or are there plans to maybe let's look at the process, for you all to look at the process again and making sure you're picking the absolutely best person for the position, no matter what party they represent?
Well, there really is a pretty involved process of picking people, and it starts with the president or whoever bringing a person forward. Then they have to go for a committee. They have to be vetted, FBI check, all of those kind of things. Really a really thorough looking into their past, and then they have to go before the committee of jurisdiction. Say it was a judge, then that would go before the judiciary committee. If it was somebody that was, say, had to do with the Corps of Engineers, that would go before the Environment and Public Works Committee and Judiciary. So, or rather, just the Environment and Public Works Committee in that situation. So, and then you'd vote on it. And so there really is. It's a pretty involved process. Certainly, all of those things can be done in a more timely fashion. I know that I encourage the administration, whether it's this administration or the past administration or President Bush even before that we really do need the best people in place, not necessarily just political people, but people that are going to do a good job, because these are important positions, and all of us have to work with them on a daily basis.
Absolutely. Quabilia, did you have another question? Well, Senator, we got about 2 minutes left in our segment. We definitely want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to speak with us this morning. Is there anything that you would like to say to our listeners that we may not have covered, or that you may want to touch on?
No. Well, the only thing I would say is that we're going through a crisis now in with the Arkansas River. The strength of our state is our people. And I've been so impressed. I was in the Jonesboro area, West Memphis area, Mississippi County area earlier in the week for a day or two, and it was so nice. All the county judges, all the officials were wanting to know how they could help out. Not being directly affected by this, but knowing that this truly is a tragedy for much of our state, wanting to know how they can put resources and be helpful. And so that's really what it's all about, is just working together, pulling together in times of need. I appreciate you all. I wish I was with you, and I will be with you in the hopefully not too distant future. Looking forward to being in the studio, and questions today were great, and certainly anything we can do to help you or your listeners. We work with veterans problems all the time, immigration problems, Social Security problems. If you're having trouble with the federal government, IRS, the list goes on and on. But if you're having
Senator, we only got about 15 seconds. I'm sorry.
Be sure and call the office.
All right, and give them that phone number right quick.
Sir?
Can you give them the phone number right quick?
I will text you that.
KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Do you know?
7153. All right. And again, like I said, and you can go online to look for that. But anything we can do to help, be sure and let us do that. And we appreciate you all.
All right, we appreciate you, Senator. Thank you once again for taking time to speak with us today.
Thank you very much.
And thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let him know that he's not alone. Assure him that you're in the battle with him and that